So because they play fast, you can get into that mode of playing in a hurry. We always want to play fast too, but we don't want to play in a hurry. So, I think it's a game where they don't shoot the ball particularly well statistically, but they get a lot of offensive rebounds. And when there's a lot of misses, like you always look at everything based on not necessarily total numbers, but percentages. So, if there's a lot of shots and a lot of missed shots, you want to talk about rebounding percentage, not necessarily, how many offensive rebounds do you give up or things like that. But I still think it's something that we can continue to get better at, get 5 people to the boards, make sure we're giving teams one shot, understanding who the players are in particular that are coming from the perimeter, and not missing those checkouts as they come. So I would say, it's a little bit of what we've been seeing. They're a man team, so I don't know that we'll see a ton of zone, which we got some zone work in the last game. But just want to see us play well and do what we want to do well, as opposed to, always. Like, I think they run a lot of really good stuff. Skeet's been in the game a long time, been at a lot of places, and, they've done, I watched their Oklahoma State game last night, and they created a lot of really good shots. They didn't go in, but I think they're still going to challenge us at the defensive end with some of their pin down DHO, like continuous action. They get you hung up on some screens, and so it'll be a chance for us to really work on getting through screens, communicating, peeling when we need to peel, when we get stuck. So, yeah.
Certainly, Aaliyah, when she gets here, will add another more minutes. But are you starting to get a sense of kind of your rotation and what you want, kind of as conference play approaches?
I think what I like right now, I like the way Yaya's playing off the bench. I think when we can keep her 20 to 25 minutes, that's like the sweet spot. For her to stay rested enough that she's uber productive in the minutes she plays. I think, usually her breakdowns are going to come when she's too tired, and so if we can do a good job with that rotation. That's important, and I think when you think about 2 spots and rotating 3 players, you can do that pretty efficiently. Our greatest challenge is the fact that we start both our point guards. So, when it comes to I know Yaya doesn't want to play the point either, and I don't want to put her in position 2 player at the point even late in games, because when you're playing well, and she's doing what we're asking her to do, then you don't want to ask her to do things that, aren't making her as confident, as productive, as comfortable. And so, at one point I thought about having her at the 1, with Madison at the 3 and Kayla and Kyla. And I don't know what we would have run or how we would have defended, but it was kind of the minutes that I wanted to, finish the game out. But I thought better of that. So, I think Kyla had a rough first half and then played a lot better in the second half. She's just got to build confidence in doing what she does, and be okay with saying, like, okay, my game isn't the same as Nettie. We're not going to play the same with her in the game, but I can be really good in these areas and really give us energy and transition bucket, a drag and transition, an early step up, but her being really committed to being elite defensively is going to go a long way towards, how many minutes she gets. Her job is to be really, really good defensively when she comes in. Anything we get on offense is going to be like, icing on the cake. So I like what we're getting from them. I think Madison's getting healthier, and has given us good minutes when she's played. And I need to find ways to play Kayla. I think Kayla, the unique challenge of our posts is that they're really all 5s. Kayla, Kyla, Madison, and Nettie are all 5s, and it's hard to play 4 or 5 players. And Kayla's the one player that's capable really offensively of playing the 4, and so could play with any of those players. But then those players have to defend the 4, So we've got to get Kayla really, really good at growing defensively so we can play a lineup where we have size, but we also still have perimeter shooting. Like, we can go double big, but do we have perimeter shooting? I think Kayla gives us the one person that can really give us size, the ability to play inside, outside on offense. But I've always said, like, you know, you can watch us over 4 years and say, as much as I have a defensive coordinator and I really focus on the offense, I still lean towards making defensive substitutions a lot of times. You're going to have to defend, you know, and I think that's the defensive coordinator background that I have. I think it's the expectation that we can be good on both sides of the ball all the time. And, you know, like, I just don't want to be in 110 to 100 game. Like, and you see a lot of teams that are really comfortable in that space, that know they're going to score enough. But, you know, I don't think she doesn't have to be perfect. She just has to keep getting better at the defensive end, so we can trust her out there more consistently.
You have a lot of capable scorers on the roster. Kind of broadly through 9 games, how have you felt about the shot distribution and selection amongst your team?
Yeah, I think it's been really good in our wins. You know, I think when you look at our success, wins versus losses, we've had shot distribution, we've had points distribution. Obviously, we've gotten Nettie going, but Nettie's been really, really efficient. So she hasn't taken a high volume of shots. She's just finishing at a high level. Honestly, Nettie should lead us in scoring. How we play, how we get her the ball, the matchups she's had. But ultimately, it's you know, we want to see 5 and 6 players in double figures. We want to get the ball to the most open person. Are we going to have games where we have 2 people that have 20? Sure, but I'd like to believe then we're going to have a 9 and 8. You know, we're not going to be this person has 24, this person has 22, and then we have 2 and 4. I think we've got too many players that are capable of putting the ball in the basket, and I think that's what makes us hard to guard. And I think when we've played the games where Jada's had to take too many shots or Jada and Sarah have had to take too many shots, we're not as effective. We just aren't. And it doesn't mean those 2 aren't going to have games that they take the most shots and aren't the most productive. But I think that's not necessarily the strength of this team. You know, we've got to play through the paint, off the bounce, off the catch, you know, and really not force shots. We should never have to force shots. We have enough offensive weapons that there's no one on our team that a forced shot is better than an open shot for someone else who's out on the court with them. Like, we don't have a lot of offensive holes when we play.
With these final 3 non-conference games, what do you want to see before, you know, December 21st is coming up?
Yeah, that's crazy to even say that. You know, the season comes, it's like the season ends, and then it's here before you know it, and then all of a sudden it's like, how did we get to this point where we're already thinking about conference play? But you know, I want to see us execute our stuff better. You know, I think we've done a better job of understanding the pieces and who we are. You know, but as the opponents continue to get better, we've got to do what we do better. You know, we really have to shore up our defensive transition and things that have hurt us at the defensive end, having players go off on us like Chesky did for Indiana, or like players that you just feel like shouldn't. She's a really good player, and I have a lot of respect for her, but, like, we have players in our locker room that have to be prideful enough to say there's no one's getting 30 on us, you know? And so I think it's just getting better at what we do, offensively, defensively, taking care of the basketball. You know, I think that's nothing drives me more crazy, and we still turn it over too much. But what are those turnovers? We seem to be getting a lot of 3 seconds lately. So, you know, for 4 years, I haven't been able to get a 3-second called, and now we just keep getting called for 3 seconds. So maybe it's my complaining over 3 years is coming back to haunt me. But I think we just have to get better at what we do.
Nicki, I saw on the men's side some coaches complaining about the 3 games in 3 days, that kind of thing. What are your thoughts about that?
That I'm never going to play in another 3-game MTE, and I'm only going to play in home and homes and neutral sites. No, I think it's a challenge. I think MTEs are there for a reason. I think it's certainly easier to play 2-game MTEs. I think that's realistic. You're used to playing, you get into a conference tournament and you have to play back-to-back. I mean, an MTE is a conference tournament. Like, you want to win a conference tournament, you may have to win 3 games in 3 days. Is it tough? Sure. Early in the season, it almost should be easier because you don't have the wear and tear on your body that you do once March rolls around. I think some 3-game MTEs are even less difficult than others, and not just because of opponent, but if it's a round robin, we're playing it's 4 teams, and and you're scouting these 3 teams versus it's an 8-team tournament, winners, and you're scouting all 7 teams that you're going to play, and having to prep for them. We were lucky in that, technically kind of being seated highest, we had the most turnaround time of anyone in that event, playing the first game and then the first game. But it's tough. They're tough. But I also think there's something about that you learn about the toughness of your team from those events. And I think, most of them are in pretty nice locations. So sometimes it's about more than just the basketball game. And so I don't think I think that's probably a knee-jerk reaction to go 0-3 in an event that people expect you to win, coming off back-to-back national championships. But, I do think I have heard women's coaches before saying, I don't like playing in 3-game events, and they stick to 2-game events. And that's like, everyone has their choice. This is the first time. No, we did Gulf Coast Showcase. So we also did, a 3-game there, but we've done both. Next year, I think we're going to do a 2-game. So it just kind of depends on, who, where, when, how good is our team? What type of competition do we want? I mean, you're going to get elite competitions if you're going to Maui for the men or Atlantis for the women, or so the Virgin Islands. You're going to get elite competition. Good question.
Certainly last year you had in Asia you had some feistiness. Even Dre brought some of that. Does this roster have someone like that can kind of stir the pot when you kind of need it?
Probably not. Not. I don't think this team has an Asia or a Dre, but we got an Aaliyah coming. So I think she's someone that brings a little bit of the spice. I think we've got kids that don't want to lose. I don't think we have a lot of kids that are going to initiate a fight, though. They're not going to plant a flag after a game. So, and that's okay, I think it's, I think we have kids that are going to compete. I don't know that we're going to instigate or, I actually saw, Kyla blocked a shot maybe against Villanova, and I thought, dang, she probably should have been teed up for that taunt, So, but I don't think we're going to get that consistently.
If I remember correctly, you're a Michigan fan, right? What did you think of that brawl?
Look, I'm just happy they won. I mean, to go into Ohio State and win after maybe not as good a year as people had hoped, just shows that Ohio State can't beat Michigan, at least in recent history.
Zach hated it because he's a Michigan State alum.
Go Blue.
Real quick, though, just in terms of, I guess, not a lot of high-tier opponents, in non-conference play left. But then once you hit Big 12 play, like you said, the competition ramps up. What do the girls want to show the country? Not falling out of the AP top 25. Is that
all right?
Yeah. Not trying to add on to it.
No. I told them when we lost to Indiana that we were going to fall out, and that we had 2 opportunities to prove why we should be ranked, and we didn't get it done. And so I think it's about proving each game. Now, UNLV is good, and so I do think we have a team left in our non-conference that's going to come in here and be really, really good. And I think each team that we play challenges us in different ways, even if it doesn't say so on the scoreboard. And we're playing for to get better and the name on the front of our chest as much as just the scoreboard. And so, that's the challenge in some of these games for sure. The challenge is to, have players begin to step up and get valuable minutes so they're prepared for those big games. But I think, once again, I believe, and this is just, I think this is how I coach. It's just my process. Was it fun to be 14-0 last year and rise to 4? Yeah, but the target just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I would rather face the adversity early in the season and say, we're not as good as you think you are. We're not as good as we think we are. That we got to keep working. And we're going to have each of these tests ahead of us, and we got to pass them. And so, I think we got plenty of games on our schedule that can prove that we belong in the top 25, the top 15, the top 10. I think we have the potential to be a top 10 team. Do I think like we've played like a top 10 team in the first 8 games? No. And I think that's what we have to prove. So, whether it's Texas Southern, UNLV, Utah Tech, or Kansas to start Big 12 play, we've got to be Baylor, and we got to figure out what that looks like and feels like, and I think it's always, I think we're always like we talk about these teams. I look at how well Maryland has done early in the season with like 9 new players or whatever that they picked up in the portal, and Brenda's an awesome coach and did a good job putting them in position to be successful early. I want us to be great in February and March, and hopefully into April. And that doesn't mean I'm not disappointed when we don't play up to our potential in November, because it is disappointing. But I also think there's lessons learned in losses that you can't teach in wins. And so I think this team believes in itself. I think this is a very, very coachable team. I don't fear the adversity because I think they believe in each other and I believe in what we're doing. And so, I don't think we have a lot of hidden agendas, with this group. And so I think we have a chance to grow in a way that maybe we've never been able to grow before. So that is my hope. And then you add someone in that can be a playmaker, a defensive stopper. Aaliyah can really add to the mix, at both ends of the floor. And I think we could use another defensive-minded player, but, is capable of making a play, scoring, getting hot, and having a 30-point game if you need it. So I'm excited to add her to the mix and see kind of what she adds besides spice. Thanks.
Is that right? 3 before conference. What do you want to do out of these last games before you start conference play?
For sure, clean up our defensive execution. There's been some things that we've changed in terms of transition defense, just because we were having trouble getting matched up when we were getting back in those sudden change kind of moments. So I'd definitely say our sudden change defense and transition D, but then also just cleaning up certain things on offense. Coach Nicki has a lot of tricks in her bag. We have a lot of different things that we run, a lot of different actions. So just working on knowing where we're supposed to be, knowing what the finishers for the plays are, and just making sure that everybody knows what we're supposed to be doing. And then always just communication, our bond as a team. I think it grows each time we step on the court, whether it's practice or actually playing. So I feel like those are the big things.
You played, 25-ish minutes a game. Like, you're probably comfortable with that, but like, do you feel good with the rotations that coach has been playing so far this season?
Absolutely. I think she brings the right people in at the right times. When we need a lift, the offense that Yaya brings, the defense that Wise brings, anyone who comes in off the bench, Nicki brings them in with a purpose to fill a gap. And then also she tells us, she's like, don't be offended if we take you out. It's not that you're not even doing your job. Sometimes that's the case, but sometimes it's to get you a quick blow so you can get back in and get back to doing it at a high level. But the rotation, I like the rotation right now, and I'm fine with playing 25 minutes. I think that's a good amount. But at the end of the day, it's whatever the team needs from each and every one of us. We just got to step up and be ready.
Yeah, your style of play, Bella, you take some hits, you hit the floor a few times, you're always kind of in the middle of things, kind of fearless maybe. For you, is that unconscious? Is it something you think about? Or you're trying to get yourself in the middle of things? Just to kind of, what's your mindset as far as being willing to kind of almost take those hits for the team, often that resulted in Baylor getting the ball back?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's kind of it's not a conscious decision of mine. I think I just am like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. I know I'm supposed to be in this position, whether it's helping over, whether it's like the last charge I took last game where I'm just in transition. And we call that holding the hole. So, like, if I'm the first person back, I'm holding the hole until the post player or whoever's person is back gets back so I can get back to my man. And I saw that girl dip her shoulder. I said, oh, my gosh, please don't do it. And she did it anyways. But I think I'm learning how to land more gracefully. But I just know that that's something that's kind of expected of me because I know what we're supposed to be doing scheme-wise. So just stepping over and taking one for the team.
How much does it fire your teammates up? Maybe it's a question for them, but how much does it fire your teammates up when you get a stop like that?
No, they love it. Not only because we get the ball back and get another chance to score, but just it's anytime anyone takes a charge or gets a stop like that, it's a testament to us knowing, okay, you have my back if I get beat or something's happening, so I'm going to have yours, and it just kind of brings us together.
My last question for you is, you kind of alluded to this, talking about improving defensively. What do you think this team's, as a group, the defensive identity this team can become?
I think that we haven't gotten in the passing lanes as much as we did last year. I think that our pressure and denial defense, though, has been really good, and I think that we disrupt the timing and spacing of people's actions and their execution. So I think as long as we keep that up and then get a few more of those steals in there. We saw the past few games, there's been a couple. I know a couple games ago, Nettie had one where she had a steal and then a full court layup. Jada's had a couple. I had one last game. Yaya had one too. So just things like that. I think we pick those up because those are kind of energy boosts as well. But I think defensively we're trucking along in the right direction.
Zach brought it up to Nicki, but just kind of last year having a couple fiery personalities, on the defensive end maybe. Do you feel like that's there this year? And I guess I'm curious who you think is the most fiery on the team on the defensive end.
I definitely think that it looks different than last year, of course. I mean, different personnel. I think it's in different ways that it's shown. I think Wise is pretty fiery, but instead of her, getting hype and oh, come on, talking and chirping to people, she just always has that big smile on her face. And even offensively, she'll always stick her tongue out at the bench or do something. But I definitely think we still have that fire. I think Yaya and Sarah too, whenever they shoot those gaps and get steals for full court layups, they don't really talk, but it's more of a like a smiley kind of energy. But then we'll also have those moments where it's like, let's go. Like I know when Bugs, Kyla, and I get blocks, like we all, especially if we're out there together, we all are like, okay, like let's go. Let's let this turn us up a little bit more.
When something else Nicki talked about too was after that Indiana loss, she said, we will be unranked after this, but we have the opportunity now to show everybody that we deserve to be ranked. Is that kind of how you're taking these next couple games into Big 12 play?
Absolutely. We just have to continue doing things the right way. I think the past 2 wins that we've had at home since that trip to the Bahamas and then our first initial loss at Oregon, I think that we have started to do things the right way again. I don't think that there was ever a time that we didn't do it the right way, but I don't think we did them the right way collectively. Like there were moments where Coach Tony in film would pause and he would be like, I understand what you guys are doing and you're working really hard, but you're not working smart and you're not working together. So we have to have all of those things together so that we can do it the right way.
You mentioned when you and Bugs get blocks, you've got 17 for the year. I was looking up your career numbers. It was 32 in your previous 67 games. What's gotten into you this year? Is that a point of emphasis on defense?
I wouldn't say that it's a point of emphasis, but I think I've learned how to track the ball better. Like usually he'll tell us to kind of wall up and, we stay down. I usually will take a charge, but lately I feel like I'm like, okay, I'm in position. As long as I go up after the shot's left our hands and just get a piece of it, I'll be all right. But I think it's fun. It's something that I've enjoyed doing so far this season.
Yaya has certainly taken on, she's played a lot more. How have you seen her? Is she a different player this year than she was last year?
Absolutely. And not just player, different person. Like, that's one of my favorite things about being teammates with these girls, because you see in our personal lives, we see changes and growth and just development. And a lot of the time that's reflected on the court. And I think that the things that Yaya's been doing right in her life and the changes she's made for herself have absolutely shown in the way she practices and the way she plays. And last time we were in here together after one of the first games, like I was bragging on her, but just super proud of how she stepped up and filled this role. She comes in, she's instant offense. Her defense has gotten a lot better too, but just she's good energy, good vibes for us. Sweet. Thanks.
Thank you.